welcome to our Common Craft video. This video was made by Jack McGowan, Ryan Smith, Tina Hartneck, and Claire Olson. Today, we will be informing you about the Lewis and Clark expedition in plain English. Transition! In the year 1800, Napoleon, the French ruler, got him! There we go. He convinced Spain to give Louisiana to France. There were many sugar plantations in the Caribbean owned by the French. Napoleon hoped that he could settle the territory with thousands of farmers to raise food for the slaves in the Caribbean. Frontier farmers became alarmed at this. If Napoleon closed New Orleans, a large port in Louisiana, the farmers would have no way to get their crops to market. Transition! Our president at the time, Thomas Jefferson, knew how scared the Americans were about this. In 1803, he sent James Monroe to buy New Orleans off France for $7.5 million. When Monroe got there, Napoleon had already changed his mind. A slave revolt led by Toussaint Louverture had taken place in the French Caribbean colony, today known as Haiti. So, in other words, Napoleon had no need for Louisiana. So instead of taking the $7.5 million for just New Orleans, he decided to give us all of Louisiana for double the money. In other words, we got all of Louisiana for $15 million, about 2 or 3 cents per acre. Okay, transition! Though it was a great bargain, not everyone agreed. Some thought it was too big to govern, some thought it was unconstitutional, and some didn't agree with the price. So, in late 1803, the Senate decided to ratify the treaty, which made everybody happy. One Westerner even said,
"You have procured an immense and fertile country, and all these great blessings are obtained without war and bloodshed."
Transition! President Jefferson wanted to know what was in the land, and he selected Captain Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to go explore it. He also wanted them to find an all-water route to the Pacific Ocean. So Lewis, Clark, and about 40 others took off. The group included Lewis Clark, Clark's slave York, and a young Shoshone woman named Sacagawea. The journey was very challenging, with many hardships such as strong river currents, mosquitoes, and bears. But one day, in December of 1805, the group finally made it to the Pacific Ocean. They discovered, sadly, that there was not an all-water passage to the Pacific Ocean, but they made it there anyway. Transition! The group spent a hard, wet, and hungry winter in Oregon County. When the winter was over, they made their way home. In September of 1806, over 2 years and 4 months after they set out, they finally made it back to St. Louis. They had traveled a total of 8,000 miles, mapped a route to the Pacific Ocean, and became friends with Indians along the way. Transition! Many followed in the footsteps of the explorers. When the expedition came to a close, that same year, a young explorer named Zebulon Pike set out into the southern part of Louisiana. He discovered a mountain on his trip, today known as Pike's Peak. Also, in 1804, a fur trapper named Jedediah Smith found a passage through the Rocky Mountains, today known as the South Pass. Sadly, along the way, he was attacked by a bear.
"I'm a bear in my red shirt, fear me, ar, 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 ah."
His friend had to sew up his face without anesthetics.
All better.
Transition! Though many people had the same idea, the Lewis and Clark expedition will be remembered forever. The end! Our resources for this film were our History Alive textbook and Google Images. The sound effects were made by my iPod.
Yay.